All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, we're going to be reviewing Ken Follett's newest novel titled Never. If you followed my channel, you know that Ken Follett is one of my favorite writers. In fact, if you watched my top 10 favorite writers of all time video, you will know that Ken Follett fell within the top 10 favorite writers of all time. In fact, he might have even been in the top 5. Just saying. Go look at that video and see. Anyway, let's talk about Never. We always discuss the covers first because I love cover design and cover illustration and graphic design. This is a big, bold Tom Clancy-esque thriller. And I know that's going to surprise you a lot because most of everything Ken Follett has written within the last 20 years has been big, epic historical fiction novels like Pillars of the Earth or the Century Trilogy or things like that of that nature. Well, he's went back to his roots. He started as a thriller writer, writing like Eye of the Needle, The Key to Rebecca, the Man from St. Petersburg, much thinner sort of novels. This is an epic Tom Clancy-esque sized thriller, and I'm going to be doing a lot of comparisons between this book and Tom Clancy, so just be prepared for that. Just be prepared. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, it's a thriller, Tom Clancy-esque thriller. It's got that thriller cover design to it. It's got that big, bold thriller just graphics to it. So I can't complain about anything about the cover. I like it. So let's go over here, and since we're talking about Tom Clancy, there's my entire Tom Clancy collection. And here is my entire Ken Follett collection. And this book will go right there with the rest of the Ken Follett books. But I'm just saying, I got into this book really a lot. There's some interesting things in this. This is about World War III. This is about how World War III may happen. If you read in the foreword of this book, Ken Follett talks about how he was when he was writing one of his earlier, I can't remember which it was. One of his earlier novels, he was writing about World War I. It might have been the Century Trilogy. It might have been the Man from St. Petersburg. But he was talking about how World War I, the more he researched it, the more he realized that war needn't have happened. The only reason it happened was a series of small, selfish decisions that different rulers of different countries made over periods of time that led to a fucking catastrophic world war. And he's like, I want to write a novel about World War III where a series of just small, selfish, stupid, moronic decisions pile upon each other by different leaders of different countries, and the next thing you know, we got nuclear bombs sailing over our head and landing in every country. He's like, I want to write a novel like that, and by God, he did write a novel like that. And it's huge. It's got a cast of characters that's huge. Globe-spanning cast of characters, just like our man Tom Clancy does. And he goes into a lot of politics and the reasons people make decisions. A lot of conservative reasons, a lot of liberal reasons, a lot of communist reasons, socialist reasons, North Korean crazy reasons, French reasons. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in this. And a lot of these characters spout their opinions and debate different things, which is another thing that I noticed is Tom Clancy does this. Now, Tom Clancy spends his time, if there's a nuclear submarine in his book, we get 20 pages of every detail of that nuclear submarine. Ken Follett, however, spends more time on the political debates, the behind-the-scenes phone calls, the intricacies of the international espionage scene, and all the little nitty-gritty details of that, especially amongst world leaders and sort of the backroom phone calls they make and things like that. It starts out in, of all places, Chad in Africa. And there's just some great things going on there. And there's a couple of spies one a French spy and one an American spy, and of course they fall in love, because why wouldn't they? That's what spies do in any thriller, and I was fine with that. I liked that side plot. Then we jump to the President of the United States, who is a female, a very short female. In fact, you can tell that she's very self-conscious of her height. But she is a very short female, and but very, she didn't get to be president by being a weakling. Let's just say that. But anyway, she is taking a tour of all of the sort of hidden underground, deep, deep, deep underground bunkers that we have created for the President of the United States and all these things, and we're given a tour of this, and this is very Tom Clancy-esque of what Ken Follett has done, was he's giving us a tour of these underground bunkers. He's showing us that all the detail that goes into these things and what's down there, and how they can, like 100 people could survive down there for 100 years, or not 100 years. 100 people could survive down in these things, like this president and all the staff and security and everything. Survive in these places for a year. Nuclear war could be going, and they wouldn't. And they're so deep, and it's so deep that it's freakishly deep. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this. And then we get into the political espionage, and because I'm going to talk a little politics now, because this book, I can tell Ken Follett really wanted to write this book because of his politics. And he probably, and I think that Tom Clancy wrote a lot of his books because of his politics. Tom Clancy makes no excuses in any of his books that he leans conservative. I have the feeling that Ken Follett is making no excuses in this book, that he leans quite to the left. And I don't care how a person leans, I just love their books. And I love this, and I love Tom Clancy, I love everything in between. So I don't base my reading tastes off of the political leanings of the author, because sometimes if you read something from someone that you may normally disagree with, whether it's Tom Clancy or Ken Follett, you can learn a lot about the world, and sometimes your opinions can and often do change if you open yourself up to different points of view from other people who may or may not be smarter than you. I'm just saying, folks, don't pick a side and dig in, because you're often going to be wrong if you do that. So on page 70, this is a quote that I really like that Ken Follett put in here. Smart conservatives know that you can't stop change, but you can slow it down. That way people have time to get used to the new ideas, and you don't suffer an angry reaction from the crowds. Liberals make the mistake of demanding radical change now, and that undermines them every time. And I think that's true. I actually believe that. He's clearly a left-leaning guy, but you can tell that he knows, and this is the same I say with Stephen King. I know Stephen King is a way far left liberal, and I don't care about that at all. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I'm just saying that he's so far left, but yet he understands the conservative point of view when he puts it in his books. You know that he gets and understands that point of view, because he often has characters speak those parts, and Ken Follett does the same thing, where when we get them, this is the whole point of this novel, folks. This is not a Jason Bourne, James Bond, action, exploding, explosive things, guns firing all the time, people jumping off of cliffs, Indiana Jones-esque thriller. This is more of a global political thriller where all of the action and all of the tension takes place behind the closed doors and within secret meetings. That's what we're getting here, folks. That's the point of it. The point of this book is to discuss different ideals, different ideas that different political parties have, and how the selfishness of both parties, whether it's the Democrats, the Republicans, or anyone in between, or whether it's Communist China or the French and whatever they're up to, and especially North Korea, just these ideals, and how people they dig in their heels, and they make stupid decisions because they just can't, their pride won't let them take a look at the other side. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's what Ken Follett is saying. That's, at least that is the theme that I read out of this book. And I think it's plausible. This is a book set in the future. clearly. And I just do think that it's absolutely 100% plausible what he has set up here. This World War III. It's probably going to happen just because we can't get along on, just because our pride, just because you voted for Trump, your pride won't let you say anything good about Biden. Or because you voted for Biden, your pride won't let you say anything good about Trump. Or anybody that voted for those people. We're filled with hate, and I think that's where we're going with this. And the divide is getting bigger. So, it's a good novel. Great. It's a great change of pace. It's not a historical novel. I liked it. I'm going to read the inside description because I don't know if I really did a great job of describing exactly what's going on in the book. But every catastrophe begins with a little problem that doesn't get fixed. So says Pauline Green, President of the United States. A shrinking oasis in the Sahara Desert, a stolen army drone, an uninhabited Japanese island, and one country's secret stash of deadly chemical poisons. All of these play roles in a relentlessly escalating world crisis. Struggling to prevent the outbreak of world war are a young woman intelligence officer, a spy working undercover with jihadists, a brilliant Chinese spy master, and Pauline, the president herself, beleaguered by a populist rival for the next presidential election. This all takes place in a presidential election year, too, which we all know how that goes. Never is an extraordinary novel full of heroines and villains, false prophets and elite warriors, jihad, jaded politicians, and opportunistic revolutionaries. It brims with cautionary wisdom for our times. It does, and delivers a visceral, heart-pounding, and transports readers to the brink of the imagination. They described it better than I did. I just say that. The only thing that I don't like about this book is the title. Never? That's the most forgettable title I've ever heard. But we'll let that slide because the book is fucking great. It's just a great book. Like Ken Follett, just one of my favorite writers of all time. I love Ken Follett. I buy Ken Follett books the day they come out, and I read them that day or the next day. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 days because they're so big. This came out on Tuesday. I'm filming this video. I don't know what day it is, maybe like Friday or something. But anyway, I absolutely adored this book. Another home run for Ken Follett. 10 out of 10.